Hello, and welcome to Let's Talk Real Estate and Stuff. Brandon over there is doing squats. Yeah, doing there. But welcome to
I
Let's
was
Talk.
I was sitting on the couch, bro, watching
Oh, is
Bloomberg.
that a couch? It literally looked like you were squatting down and what is happening to the world. You looking at your news feed and it's like, did something just
That's
happen to
a
in the news?
it's a couch futon thing that I
I,
have in my office.
I like it. I like it.
Those are
All right.
solid.
Well,
I'm a
welcome to Let's
pretty
Talk Real
soft to
Estate
start
and
rocking
Stuff
on those.
podcast where we dive deep into the world of real estate investing and explore the random stuff that makes life interesting. I'm John Whitfield from Carrot Invest Views, joined with my co-host Carlos from Carrot Invest Views and Papa P or Brandon, aka Papa P from Ted Sis Ops. We got a fun day today. Some exciting things to talk about. But before we get into it, you'll see a little QR code over there. If you scan that and send us anything, we will share some lovely real estate investing content with you. Just message Brandon on Instagram. His handle is there underneath his name or his picture. But we would love just a little support from you. We're using that money to grow the channel. So anything you want to give would be appreciated. But let's do it. How's it going, guys? How's your week been?
I just got back, took my daughter up to Auburn. I
Oh, how was
believe this
that?
is the university of her dreams. A phenomenal school. Not
Nice.
a bad drive, only 2 hours from our Georgia park. In Alabama, it was a business trip because I was hunting mobile home parks on the way. As I was driving, I kept seeing them, and I would because I was using Google Maps, like for directions. And between Georgia and Auburn, bro, it was like a mobile home park owner's wet dream. I was just like, mobile home park. That one looks run down. I'm like screenshotting because I didn't know the address and I'm driving, so I just pick up my phone and screenshot like the location on the map,
You
and I
should
was like,
have
I'll
had your
see you.
daughter with like Deal Machine. She could have like just
That's
started tagging
I
properties.
couldn't think of the name, and I was gonna text you, but I was driving, and I was like, "Man, John says there's this like app I should use because that would come in handy right now." Where I'm just like, my daughter slept the whole time, bro. Um. Anyway, I found a
Deal Machine,
bunch of
buddy.
them up there, but while I was up there, we got into some arguments with the mobile home park I'm dealing with, and we
Oh
were supposed
man.
to close. So we were supposed to close yesterday.
Okay.
And when you're dealing with these things, right? Like, so we were in a negotiation. I had felt that they had misrepresented the property. They had dragged out our renegotiation for months. And a lot of it had to do with some personal stuff going on. And I understood. And I was like, okay. Anyway, came down to it. And it was like Monday, Tuesday, I was calling the realtor trying to get an extension. I'm like, listen, if they don't have a response, like I need an extension. And granted, I wanted a yes on my renegotiation. I know the realtor was aiming for that. Anyway, Wednesday came along and I just typed up an email to document it. I'm like, listen, I haven't heard back. I need an extension. We're supposed to close, you know. Anyway, she calls me and says that the brothers selling the property do not want to sell it anymore.
They
So
want to
I
keep
was
it.
like, no, they feel that one, they don't want to renegotiate, and two, they wanted more money.
Mm.
And so now it comes down to contracts. And I'm like, well, and I've had Brittany, like RTC, we've done our part. We've been communicating with title. We ordered the title. Like we did everything, like not ordered it, seller ordered it, but they weren't responding. So title was reaching out to us about, okay, what do we do here? What do we do here? Long story short, I had to threaten to sue for specific performance. And I said, here's how things normally go. And I was like, I'm not trying to tell you how to do your job, but there's a negotiation. If that negotiation doesn't work out, you get a hard no. And then I have the right to decide if I want to move forward or if I don't, as the buyer who raised up the issue. I said, you haven't given me that hard no. So we were in a good faith negotiation. However, I'm ready to close tomorrow. Your seller's not. They haven't done any of their part. I don't know how it is in Georgia, but in the state of Florida, the seller's responsible for title. You haven't presented any of the mobile home titles. You haven't done anything with title to verify it. I was like, I'm ready to close. There's no closing documents. You haven't produced the mortgage or the note for the mortgage. I was like, so if anyone's not performing, it's them, and I'm ready to go. I have my money lined up. I was like, but I have the right to decide. Like, so basically at this point, that's where it got to. And so I had to call my investors and I was just thinking it over. Like, do we want to move forward with them not renegotiating with me? Ultimately, the answer was yes. And I had to threaten to sue them in order to get them to say yes, because they didn't want to sign the extension. So at first, they didn't want to sell it. Then a day later, as I was driving back to Florida on Thursday, yesterday, I had convinced them that they needed to sign the extension, but the only way they would sign the extension was if I paid them more money. And as I explained to the realtor, that's not how this works. I was like, they signed a contract. I was like, that's it. I was like, they're going to perform on that contract. I was like, I've never represented that I didn't want to buy the property. I only represented that they misrepresented the income of the property and the condition. And based on the advertisements of it, when we negotiated in good faith, that's what I was negotiating for. They said no. Cool. And I said, you go tell the brother that I said he won and I lost. And I was like, go tell him he won, I lost. I'm ready to close at the agreed upon terms. I got a call back and they said, okay.
Interesting. So the basically the negotiation failed, but they were trying to completely pull out
And
and
one,
and make you pay more money or make you pay more money. But then okay. See, this is why you have contracts, right?
yeah, I mean, it got down to pretty sticky because so they wanted more money because they claimed that everyone lied and me and the real and when I say they, there's one party of the selling entity that seemed
Yeah.
to cause all the difficulty. Um,
They said
they
that you
they
lied?
they claimed that we had slipped in the contract the monthly payment to be $700 cheaper. Like we had manipulated
Oh.
what the and then they claimed that the realtor did it and made a mistake and I was like, "No." I was like, "That's not what happened." And, but yeah, so we did it. We got the extension signed because the seller, I'm assuming when the realtor went back and relayed everything I told her, the seller realized that he was in fault. It was his fault that we weren't closed. We have emails and documentation of us. I even asked the lawyer when we could set up a closing. I had done my part to perform if they were ready and the negotiations failed. I was hoping I would win my negotiations, but ultimately, you run the gambit and then I have the choice to not perform. So he had realized because he hadn't produced any of the mobile home titles, he hadn't spoken to the lawyer previously except for the week before. And when he spoke to them, he had told the lawyer that he didn't think we were going to close because he didn't think we were going to see the negotiation through. And right there, he kind of threw a wrench into it. So he ultimately decided that they would sign the extension for me. We'll close later this month. He's meeting with the attorney today, closing attorney, to hand off all the titles so they can do what they should have been doing like a month ago.
So
Dude, it was
in this
wild. Go ahead.
I was gonna say in this case, if you disagreed and were like, I'm not going to pursue this deal any further
Mhm.
because the negotiation failed, can you pull out at that point? Like, what kind of grounds do you have in
So
your contract to pull out at that point in time?
Good point. So yes, I could pull out because I had during my due diligence periods raised my issues, and I did it in writing. So technically yes, but you got to remember with an earnest money, if your contract doesn't specifically state that you get it back automatically, you still need the seller to sign off. Anyway,
Mm.
so yes, I could have, but then there would have been a dispute because my contract didn't have that, as well as a few other things it didn't have. So yesterday I called an attorney, and actually I've been calling this attorney since last week, and finally I called and he called me back while I was driving, and I have now a 24-page contract that I purchased from him that I am going through that has all of these clauses that I have been looking for to protect myself. And one of them is if they default or I back out during my inspection without having to check with the seller, I automatically get my deposit. I don't need them to sign anything. Because if you get into a nasty situation, and it's happened on wholesale deals like residential, where like sellers, they just stop picking up the phone and if your contract doesn't have automatic release or that type of language in there, the title company is not going to release it without a signed contract, an EMD cancellation, or an EMD release form. So, so I did get a new contract. I was actually reviewing it before our podcast. So I'm ready to buy another one with all the mistakes I've made, with all the mistakes and things that I didn't know in the first 3. So that's what's going on. It was a wild ride home of back and forth phone calls. But when I pulled into my driveway, there was an extension sitting in my email inbox that I signed eagerly.
Nice. I'm glad you're still getting a deal. It sounds like a juicy one.
Yeah,
I tried.
That reminds me of a Sopranos episode where he goes up and takes his daughter on a college trip, but he's handling mafia business the entire time.
Wow. Yeah, we were on our walking tour, and one of the investors in the fund in our syndication was trying to sign the document and had questions. So I had to I was walking behind. I had to stop the tour. It was just me and my daughter with 2 students, so it's not like it was a group. But they were waiting on me as I'm trying to walk this guy from memory through the subscription agreement for him to sign, to wire the money, so we could be ready to close, because it was coming up to the wire. I was just collecting all the money in case we were closing, because I wanted to be ready.
You might have to close that day.
It's not even that. I wanted proof that if it got into a dispute, I wanted proof that I was operating in good faith of closing. And I don't know, I've never been in that situation in such a large deal. I've done it in individual residential, but all the little bits help when you're trying to make a case for performance.
Interesting. Man, it's crazy to see things you learned.
Yeah. You guys like Auburn?
Yeah, I mean,
I want to go to an SEC football game. That's loosely on the agenda. We may have to go see John in Gainesville.
I'd say come up to Gainesville, the biggest was it the biggest stadium?
She didn't get into UF. She didn't get into UF. We tried, but she got into Alabama, Auburn, Penn State, and my alma mater, St. Francis. But ultimately, Auburn. I mean, we already put a deposit down for the room.
Oh, dude, amazing!
She made me do that yesterday. I'm still holding out for St. Francis University, my alma mater, but you can't beat Auburn, bro.
Yeah, Auburn. That's awesome.
Auburn's
super cool.
A little bit of a drive. I see buying some mobile home parks around there. SEC football. Penn State's Big Ten.
You really have to get that RV quicker than you were thinking.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Gonna just go up there and tailgate, visit some mobile home parks and stuff, and then just hop over for a game. So it could be pretty cool. But anyway,
not a bad life.
Yeah, that's exciting. She'll be starting. Will she start summer or fall?
Fall.
Yeah.
Who knows what she's gonna do? She's going for physical therapy. So.
Yeah, cool.
I know there's talking on a podcast about college. People are gonna be like, "Oh, I can't believe you're sending your kid to college." I'm a believer in college, as long as you're not getting home. Bro, what was it? Our tour guide is double majoring in liberal arts or something, and man. I made a side remark, but she said it all proud. I looked at my daughter. I go, "Well, she ain't getting a job when she graduates. There's no fucking bro. You have no skill set. It's like getting an English lit degree. What are you doing?"
Oh my gosh. That's hilarious.
So yes, I disagree with a lot of those types of degrees, but I think college in general is a great experience. For 4 years, I think it's a great deal. Highly recommend it. I also think trade schools are good.
Yeah, I told my kids, I was like, college is great. I went to college. My wife went to college. We both enjoyed it. And I think there's certain things that you have to go to college for. Not everybody needs to go to college. I feel like the world told my generation, if you don't go to college, you're not going to be a successful human being. I don't think that is the case, and I want to instill that in my kids. But at the same time, you don't need to grow up that fast. Go to college and have fun. But if you're going to be there, don't get a liberal arts degree.
Yeah, I think college is a great tool for the first 4 years of adulting. It's also a great place where especially when you go to a top university. I consider Auburn, it may not be Ivy League, but it's got a good pedigree, and it's you're going to meet some people there that are going to be movers and shakers. You're going to meet people in your field or in other fields that that are going to spark something in you, and it's good to be surrounded by those people. It's like going to a mastermind. Listen, real estate, we'll drop 30 grand a year for a mastermind. That's the same as a college tuition, right? Like that's so, and I was explaining that to my daughter because we were talking about loans and scholarships and all that, and I'm like, this is the price of knowledge. Knowledge costs money. What is that?
This
We
is
got TTP.
a quick little story of this
Who
guy.
is that?
So that guy, I sold an apartment to him 12 years ago in college because when I was at the
Yeah.
University of Maryland, I sold apartments at the one that I lived at.
Mhm.
He was a walk-on. He played for University of Maryland basketball. So I ended up just seeing him. He just moved to my neighborhood, and I was walking the other day, and I saw him. I was like, Varun. And he ends up doing like a lot of stuff with like a health. I forget the company. I'll have to look through our text, like Caribbean Health and Wellness or something. But he works with like a health and wellness company and just moved here. So it's cool. And like you have those connections moving forward too.
You do,
like, you'll
man.
know, you should know other people like in Auburn, like physical therapy, all that stuff is nice to have in your pocket for the rest of your life too.
It's a click. It's a click. Like you went to University of Maryland, right? And like if you were still up in DC, like when I lived in DC, if you went to University of Maryland, it was its own little club. Like if you knew other people that went there, like it's a shame. It's just another way of narrowing down a hiring pool. It's another way of narrowing down who you like because you have something in common. Those are things that you have in common. It's not an end all be all decision maker, but it does weigh. Like if I met somebody that went to St. Francis, immediately you have my attention where I will set a meeting with you. I will talk to you. Will I continue later on? It all depends on, it gets you in the door, I guess.
Exactly.
It doesn't guarantee anything, but it catches my attention in a stack of papers where I'll say, yeah, I'll talk to this person. Like we have something in common.
Cool. Exactly. Some of the good LinkedIn reach outs.
Yeah.
1,000,000%. Some of the good LinkedIn reach outs, they reach out and they'll mention something specific about University of Maryland, like a bar or something like that. It's like, man, I'd love to be at Bentley's on a Friday night or catch a Terps basketball game or something like that.
I have no idea what that means, but I get what you're saying.
It's like he referenced like a local bar in College Park.
But yeah, something So I mean, I do believe college has its advantages, but like trade school, I mean, I wouldn't. And like if I was going to be an entrepreneur and I knew I wanted to run a business, I would do exactly what I did over again and I'd go get my accounting degree. I'm not a great accountant and I don't know taxes because accounting and taxes are completely different things. Like taxes is a very niche part of accounting, but like I use that every day in understanding and I still am learning because I haven't been an accountant in over a decade. 14 years, but like it's giving me a good baseline that it takes other people in business a long time to learn and a lot of money to spend for someone to explain stuff to them that I already knew the day I got into business. And so that's what I would probably do if I was going to go to college and I knew I wanted to run a business. I'd get the experience and I'd get my accounting degree, so that way I had that specific skill. You always carry that info with you. It's like a 4-year accounting mastermind journey.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Well, anyway. How's PPL been going? It's the title of this episode. So we're gonna fake a conversation leading to some interesting topics, but in our discussion about what we're talking about this week, we naturally went down this course that we're about to reproduce. So give us an update on what PPL has been like for you, Brandon, and then we'll go from there.
No, I think PPL, so ultimately I want to get my website redone and I've been looking for people to do it. I'd really love to generate some PPC leads of my own brand, but PPL, I can't complain, especially for my style business. It's nice. You can turn it on, shut it off. It took me a little bit. Like I've narrowed down to my one provider that I feel like I really like. And I had good ratios with them. And yeah, I'm stumbling here, but it's like, yes. And because I've reiterated this on previous podcasts and I don't want to rehash everything we've talked about with PPL, but I think if you're getting into inbound and you have enough money for 3 months of your budget, then I think PPL is a phenomenal. It's the key, man. You'll run out of money. They'll spend your money so fast. You have to be diligent with your budget. And you get like 2 to 3 leads, maybe probably like 1 to 2 leads a day is what I would say. And you get those 2 leads a day, 10 leads a week, you should be getting a deal a week at a minimum, and you don't have to be chained to your desk. So yeah, I love PPL, but I think PPC would be the step up from that I would probably be doing next.
We're with you. I have a quick question for Papa P.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking to a friend of mine and then a big realtor in Maryland next week that isn't like an off market or / wholesale person, but he's like just starting to get aware of the space that we're in. And apparently he's sending out some mail, like 5K a month, like a decent amount of mail is just starting off too. Is PPL something that you would recommend potentially to a really established realtor, like one of the most popular realtors in, like, let's say Baltimore, for example?
For
or would you
realtor
tell them
leads?
to start with PPC? No, wholesale. That once again to wholesale. Good.
Realtor
clarifying
wanting
question.
to get into wholesale.
Yeah.
And I mean, one, I would never spend 5K on direct mail. Just, I mean, unless it's such a niche list. I feel like if they're doing a bulk list, you're not going to really get any traction there, and then you still need to pick up the phone. You need to be
Mhm.
there, and the problem is you don't get notified when that lead's coming in. It's just a random phone call with no name,
Mhm.
no address, no nothing, and you pick it up blindly or miss it, and who knows, it could come marked as spam because it's just a regular Joe calling. You know what I mean? I would say PPL would be phenomenal for that if they have the budget. 5 grand, 7 grand, depends on your area. Like that could be definitely enough money. Like where I'm marketing, we're doing like 3, 4, 450 a lead. But like I was talking to a guy up in like up north, the United States, like up top, fucking Minnesota, Wisconsin, that area. I was trying to think of the states, but leads are like $150, 200. So where my 10K a month budget, his is only like fucking 4 or 5K. So yeah, I would definitely say that it would be great for that person. I would
Especially
do it before
considering like
direct
they would be
mail.
good on the phone, right? Like
Oh,
they're a
yeah.
realtor, they're experienced talking to sellers.
Yeah.
Very
And
That's
plus,
a
you don't have to
prime
buy
person to
the
talk to
data.
other people. Yeah.
You don't need to buy the data. You don't need to buy the website. You don't need to
Yeah.
buy the phone numbers, right? All you need is just one smartphone number for you to dial out on. And yeah, of course you should have a website for someone to refer to, but that's something different. But yeah, I would definitely say it's a phenomenal thing, but it all comes down to money. You're not going to
Mhm.
get into it and be like, I got a couple grand and then I'll
Right.
do it and then I'll make a closing. Like, so some of the PPL leads that we had, right? Like I just finalized, and we got this one on January 1st. I just finally got the liens renegotiated to where we could list it as a novation, and I talked to a realtor. That's 2 months of back and forth with multiple lien holders waiting for lawyers to respond because we couldn't wholesale it with the amount of liens she had. So we're going to do novation, but it took me that long. So imagine if I was waiting on that money.
Mhm.
I wouldn't be
You got
doing
the
it.
contract January 1st or the lead came in January 1st?
I got the contract January 1st. I think the lead probably came in like a couple days before that. PPL I was closing them in like a couple calls. So it was probably like 2 to 3
Love that.
days worth since when the lead came in.
Nice.
Love that. That's part of the reason. If it's somebody that's 10 out of 10, like knows the market like crazy / in addition is also like 10 out of 10 negotiation, I might just be like, dude, throw that money into PPL. The mail for him specifically is outsourced. He's a company that's pulling all the data and sending mail for him. So it's just getting inbound calls. But,
Around
but yeah, that'll be excited. I'm gonna have to sidebar with you on some PPL stuff before that meeting. That's
yeah,
cool.
you can manipulate your PPL too. Like if you're just a solo guy, right, and like you're really trying to hone in on your costs, like I'm telling you, like if you start to like understand how PPL works, I play around with my bidding at certain hours of the day when I know other people are overloaded, and I can get like my $400 leads that like for a certain county in Texas, and I'll like can lower my bid down to 275, 300. They need to place the lead. They have to place it or else they lose money. So if everyone else has already maxed their budget out for the day and they're at 450 and your next bid is 250, they're selling it to you at 250 in Dallas, Texas or something. So when you start to kind of figure that out, there's ways, but again, you're not going to like get an inflow of leads as if you were the top bidder. You're going to be the last choice type of person. So you can't guarantee your lead flow, but like I did that, especially at night, and like because everyone else would shut their accounts down, I'd be like, cool. And I had my nighttime email ready to go. So like, and it worked for me. It worked, and I got deals. And
Stay tuned for Brandon's masterclass on how to use.
I mean, seriously though, that could it be a thing? Is PPL going to be here for a long time? But that's funny because
Right.
that would be a good little. I don't know necessarily a course, but people would find value in that of like best way of
I
working with
hope
PPL.
never selling a course again in my life.
I
I did it once, made some money. It was cool. The people, the questions, the time it took. Like I was just like, wow, like I'm cool with this.
It's crazy, right?
I'd rather just help people naturally, you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
You when we were talking earlier, you were saying that there was somebody posting a new kind of PPL provider and what they were trying to do with it or something.
Yeah. Sorry, I was opening this up. Yeah, I'm not gonna say. I'm not
You don't
gonna
have to say
say.
names.
Yeah, okay. So when you do PPL, like I've done it all, and I'm not saying that anybody's business is not good. I'm not saying they're not making money. What I'm saying is I want a PPL lead that comes straight to me without being touched. I want to be the company that generated the lead, right? Like I hired a marketing agency, they generated a lead, sent it to me. When you go through the marketplace style ones, right? Like this guy started a marketplace style lead generation like PPL site. And it's pretty cool. It looks cool. It looks just like the other ones out there, and they charge you per lead and you buy credits and all this stuff. But he sends his bragging point, as he's a new company, a few months, maybe like 6 months old, is they will call the leads ahead of time. It comes into his Podio, right? They generate the leads, comes into Podio. They then call the leads, verify it's legitimate, like their callers. Then they post it to the marketplace. I have a few problems with that. One, you're a marketing company. You're not a sales company. You don't train your guys like I train my guys. You're no way in hell your guys are as qualified as me or anybody on my team. Do not do something that you are not hired to do. Two, the speed to lead is horrible. So I got to wait for you to get the lead in, for then you to get a hold of them, for then you to decide that you want to post it, for them me to see and be notified that it's on there, for them me to call. And now I don't have the power that I had.
What the
Hey, how can I
context?
help?
Like,
Yeah,
what
and
kind of
now they're like,
combo
oh,
happened beforehand?
and supposedly, and I don't know because I don't use them, never going to try them, have no need. I've already had my experience with these companies. I'm just laughing as I'm watching this, and I'm like, Jesus, dude. Like, one, like I don't know the convo. I'm sure it's a very minimal, like, hey, I just want to verify that this is your name, this is your number, this is this, and that's probably it. And I guarantee, I'm not going to guarantee, but I would imagine if he's smart, that's all he's doing. But still, now there's Sally that already talked to them, that the seller is getting now a second call from me. It just makes it seem more important than it needs to be. Like, wow, I've had two people call me, and sometimes maybe they filled out more forms. Maybe between the point they filled out your form, waited to talk to Sally, waited for you to upload, they now
You
filled
had to
out
fill out
another form.
another form.
And now they don't know who I am. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, and then my problem is as he scales, like, how is he scaling his calling team? Like, one, as a business, why would you incur all these extra expenses that you don't need to incur unless you figure because it's a marketplace, you're going to sell your leads to more than one person, which is what most marketplaces do, because unless or you have to pay extra in order to be the only lead, the only guy to get the lead. Screw all that, dude. Just go to one of the other companies from our previous episode. They send it directly to you. They don't call it. They don't touch it. It's yours. You're the first person. You pretend you're them. You pick up the phone and you do what you've been trained to do. Simple as that. And you get
I wonder
speed
if
to lead instant.
I wonder if they're trying to solve like an inherent problem with the PPL business, right? Of refunds. Are they trying to prevent
Yeah,
up
but I don't
front?
give a shit. Why?
But that's what I'm
Why?
saying is like
Why solve a
they.
problem with your own money that I will solve for you with my time? So I spend the
It's
time,
true.
verify it, because I have to send you a recording or
Mm-hmm.
screenshots. Like I'll screenshot whatever, and then like give it to you. I'm doing the fucking work for you, bro. And you're
But do
like,
you think
cool,
there's
not a
other
lead,
wholesalers out
refund.
there that are happy that they don't have to deal with that process? Like they are going to get a verified person every single time,
And
and
listen, here's the deal.
they're gonna say that that is more important to me than speed to lead.
I agree until they scale. I am sure right now the initial people have, whenever one of these softwares open, right, there's not a lot of people using it, and he probably doesn't, and the company itself probably doesn't need a lot of callers. So there's this honeymoon period of like for any business, right? Like your honeymoon
Oh yeah,
period
I
of the
remember that period.
first user advantage. Cool, I'm like the only guy in there and all these leads, and he needs to sell them, and he's discounting them, and yeah, I'm getting deals. Well, eventually he has to scale his calling team, he's got to scale his lead gen, and so
Yeah.
the costs go up and things fall through the crack, and then that's when they start trying to make sense of their budget. So that's when they try to sell the lead to two different people, pay an extra $50 to be the only lead. Things fall through the crack, your callers say the wrong thing. I mean, I've encountered all of it, and it's just like what I found is the best PPL. Generate the lead, send it to me, I'll deal with everything.
Yeah.
And if I want a
Yeah.
refund, I'll let you know.
Hmm.
I
Do you
don't know. That's
imagine
my.
that his leads are going to be more expensive or cheaper
I
than
mean,
competitors?
I've never seen. Jogging my memory bank. I don't think I've seen his leads cost. I'm pretty sure he's posted it, but those marketplaces are not any. So on the one marketplace I was using, I was spending more money with them. So I was spending roughly about the same, maybe a little more. But then when you want to be the only guy getting it, and you have to pay that
Yeah,
extra
pay
50
more.
or $100. But here's the thing with the one marketplace, and when they're trying to maximize profit, they're resending these things on the marketplace, right? So like I would find my leads, like because I would look through the marketplace, showing as brand new hot leads that I know I've already called because it shows up in my little thing as owning
Even
it,
ones that you
and
paid
they're
the exclusive
already.
agreement for month.
No, I cannot say that, but one
Okay.
just in general, ones that I bought and I've been working. They're now
Okay.
relisted, but it's not that they're down at the bottom of the stack because they're a week
Right. They're
old.
like, this
They
lead
push
just came in a minute ago.
And so that's where the distrust started happening. I'm like, well, if they're labeling this as hot and new, how do I know these other ones I'm buying aren't? And then now the age of these leads comes into question.
Mhm.
It's like all I want to do is buy a lead, you send it over, I call it immediately, and I have to trust that you're not round robining to somebody else as well to maximize your money. But I have yet to encounter that on the ones that I've gotten from the company that I like because I've never had any problems. Like later on, maybe a week or two later, they're like, I've been getting a lot of calls. And that's a pretty typical occurrence no matter what type of lead gen you have.
Yeah.
But I'm not battling it on day one, I'll say that much, like I was with the other company.
Well, I received some interesting news as of late that from a legal perspective, PPL might become illegal or
I don't
is
understand that
illegal.
though. I mean, we didn't really talk about this before because I didn't want to like ruin my surprise or anything, but like, and I didn't do any research. I just don't understand how that's going to be illegal because you're just generating the fucking marketing.
Yeah.
So
Texting, I could
What's
see.
so illegal about that?
So the illegal part is all about consent. So previously, like in privacy, in terms and conditions, right? If you were to like go to a website and they have to disclose, I'm going to pass on your information to affiliates, and they will be contacting you, right? That was all fine. But with ATP 10 DLC and consent of communication becoming more and more of a thing, what has changed in regulation is they're saying that you cannot sell consent. If I make a lead generation website and I generate a lead and that lead gives me consent to contact them, I cannot then take that lead, sell it to Carlos, and pass on the consent
Okay,
to
I get
communicate
that,
with that person to
but
Carlos.
then where does this fall? And I don't think you know the answer to this, but where does this fall in for data in general? Because I give consent to my credit card company to house my information. And then all of a sudden they sell it off to like freaking Google or, like some
Right.
other financial company that's grabbing my data for this and that. You mean, where's the difference there other than what they probably have in their terms? And so my thing is I bet those big companies have in term a condition where I waive consent, and I'm like, I automatically allow you to sell my data. I'm sure somewhere in the footprints it's in there. So then wouldn't PPL providers just like put at the bottom of their website or something in like a little like hyperlink that says terms of service? And it's like, we are selling all your shit to anybody who will pay us $400.
So here's how it can work. Here's how it legally can work. And this is verbiage from an FCC lawyer that I received. The new rules make it illegal for businesses to contact such leads unless the consumer affirmatively consented to be contacted by this particular business, one at a time, not via a blank consent to a list of hundreds of sellers or the like. So
What does that mean?
So that would mean that Chase credit card in their terms and conditions says, we're going to give this lead to Citibank and they will contact you, and you have to agree to that. So you have to specifically list out where the consent is going to, and the seller has to agree that their consent is going to those specific companies. Is this
already a thing?
It is already a thing, to my understanding. And I'm still doing research on this because I need to understand how it impacts what I deal with. But I'll tell you my kind of 2 cents. Like, I kind of feel like this is like cold calling FCC rules. Like, who's really going to enforce this?
It's like the inverse of cold calling.
Right.
How are you going to know?
Right. How are you going to know? And there, I have heard of cases. So I have talked to providers out there who are like dealing with some of the legalities in A2P 10 DLC and consent. There are some lawyers out there that go and just like pretend to be a seller and will go through the process, not check for not say I consent to receive text messages, and then they get a text message and then they go sue those people, right? So there are those kind of people out there that are doing this, and they might be the only ones that might prosecute.
Yeah, but it would be really hard to know because like PPL doesn't like come out and say. So if you ever see like because I now look at these ads. Whereas my company might say, hey, Real Offers Cash LLC will buy your home, or Real Offers Cash. That's not what PPL does. Generic. They don't come out with, it's super generic. American Home offers for your home. And it doesn't say LLC.com. It's just some slogan. And that's the ad that they put out there. So how are you going to know that Real Offers Cash or, Joe Homebuyer isn't the one behind that?
I don't think you could.
Because it's not even like their website is branded to a company. Again, their website is a landing page branded to the ad. I don't know. I find that very interesting. I
don't necessarily think that. I think there's and it does specifically say here what the lawyer sent over. This is primarily aimed at robocalls and texts, right?
Yeah.
What we're specifically talking about is a seller who's reaching out for help in a situation and actively wants to sell their phone or sell their house. What's the chances of that seller turning around and be like, these people I didn't give them consent.
Yeah.
It's not like I put my phone number on some website and then all of a sudden 30 companies have my phone number and are sending me
texts. That's what was happening. So that's what was happening with the marketplace. That's the response of why like the big marketplace thing is like because everyone's buying it on the same day, and then that was the response from sellers. Like the worst thing I ever did was fill out that form.
So they might be the marketplaces might be getting in trouble then because the sellers are going to be pissed off.
100%. And like that was the thing that made me feel slimy because I'm like, damn, I'm paying to be less slimy. Like I'm trying to be like legitimate, buying real, I wanted help type of leads. Yeah. And here you've made it slimy all over again by selling the lead to like 10 thin people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember when they were like, the worst thing I ever did was fill out that form. I haven't stopped getting calls all day. And it's like, I'm sorry, man. Like, my bad.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel it's completely different than like texting though. Like why, like if someone is searching like whatever keyword of selling their house and they send their information and they send any type of consent, it's like, dude, you're asking for people to call you. Like how that gets routed or who that gets routed to. I mean, that's kind of on you for doing your own due diligence.
As long as, so here's where I would say, forget about as a wholesaler, right? But like if I'm trying to think of something I'd be doing, but if I fill out because I want to sell my house or anything, if I get one call from whoever, like specific to that I filled out,
Yeah.
I don't give a shit who it comes from. Now, if I start getting calls for other things, like
Mhm.
that day, I'm gonna equate whatever happens that day.
Do
I'm
you
gonna
need
equate that.
moving services?
Yeah,
Would you like to buy
100%. Now I'm
boxes?
gonna be pissed. I'm gonna be pissed.
Yeah.
Now, if I get a call for that website for that specific thing from one person, two people, three people, four, now I'm pissed again. So it's like
Mhm.
it's the quantity of calls for that one thing, and then if I get calls
Mhm.
for other things related to that, that's where
Yeah.
I'm going to be upset as a consumer. But if you sell me a PPL lead and I'm the only one you sell it to, you shouldn't have that problem because I'm not reselling the lead, right? Like I'm not
Right.
sending that
That'd
anywhere.
be funny. Daisy chaining PPLers.
Well, I've heard. So when I put out my Instagram post, right,
Yeah.
about it. So I put out, and I'm not gonna say who it was, but like we had this in-depth convo because he had frustrations with PPL because apparently he had caught PPL providers daisy chaining PPL leads, going to one PPL site, taking leads
Buying
from there
it.
and posting it onto there,
Yeah,
buying
on
it and
their own
reposting
PPL
it
site.
on their
Oh
own
my
because, and I was
gosh.
asking him why and all this stuff, and he goes, because if they don't have leads, they don't make money, and if they're not generating enough leads for like the people on their platform, they have
Then
to
those
go
people are gonna
find
leave.
leads elsewhere. And so
Mhm.
like, and I personally ran into that where like I talked to someone and they had filled out like with a mortgage company, and then somehow it got over to me. They were looking for a loan, and I'm thinking that the PPL provider probably was buying leads and then
Buying
filling it
leads up
out.
from somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, and then put it onto the thing, and I stopped using it. That was what. Once I heard that, I was like, I don't give a shit what the reason is. Like, I'm not. I have other companies. I'm not using that company. I don't care
Mm.
what the excuse is. It's just like
Yeah.
I don't want that. That's not what I'm paying for. I'm paying for
Yeah.
you to do specific marketing, and that's it. I don't know,
Mhm.
John. This is interesting. I still don't.
Again, like I think it's an evolution of the rules as we've been seeing with ATP 10 DLC. But like I agree with you. Like I think it would be if you use the right PPL vendor and they are doing the right thing with the leads, like who's gonna know? Because ultimately you're
Yeah.
solving that seller situation and they want you to call them. Now, if a lawyer who likes to go out there and randomly sue people in their free time goes and fills out these forms, and you might run into some problems there. But for the general 99.999% of leads that are coming through,
Yeah.
I think it's going to be fine. At least of how the interpretation of the rules are standing right now. I'm
Yeah.
still trying to find the actual official law that I can then take any necessary action upon, which is mostly
I
just gonna be education.
I would like to see that because obviously that affects me if it becomes a thing. But I stand by like if I'm the only person calling you and you filled out a form, I would think 100% of people aren't going to have a problem with that unless they're
Yeah.
specifically targeting like the lawyers or whatever. They're entrapping you to do it. And again, filling out a PPC form, and it's not even like I'm texting you though. So I'm just picking up, and I'm not power dialing you either.
Mm-hmm.
This is a one-off type of communication thing. You asked, that's an
Yep.
interesting thing. I
It's
mean,
interesting even taking it out of real estate. Like, isn't direct mail kind of intrusive? Like you're
bro,
physically putting
yeah,
something in
well,
something's like in comparison to that, in comparison
I've
to
been,
you
I've
type in
been,
your info and ask that, you know?
I don't know, man. I've had old people call me and complain and say it was intrusive. And it's like, do you call Walmart? Or like today I went and checked my
Mm-hmm.
mail and I had these fucking, those newspaper flyer style type of things and I hate them because they stuff my mailbox. I didn't ask for this. Stop
Yeah.
sending them. But do you see me call the stores and be like, how dare you send me this coupon
You could ask
flyer
me
for the week of your sales?
take it off the list though. Like I get
I
it
have
for stuff that you
better
opt in on.
shit
Like
to do.
I still get this cigar. Yeah, like I've never taken the time to do it, but like I haven't bought cigar from this company in like 3-4 years probably. But it's a company that like Tyler Austin. It's like Thompson Cigar or something. But like they still send me a magazine like every like 2 weeks. But I opted in for that because I bought it and I probably hit a little consent thing when I bought cigars one time. But just like But just thinking of like investors like buying your house, like maybe intrusive was a poor word choice, but just to compare the thing that we're talking about, like the content
To a lot
on
of people it
on
is,
SEO.
Carlos. When I did
Mhm.
direct mail, there's a lot of angry people who call in saying we didn't give them permission for that, blah 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 blah. And yes, to a lot of people it is. To most normal humans,
Yeah.
mail is trash. You sort through the
Mhm.
mail and you throw everything out with the exception of bills. I would say
Mhm.
maybe I would dare to say 100% of Americans follow the same protocol with mail.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
No, you
Mm-hmm.
did a great breakdown on
Oh,
the print genie. All I'm
Yeah,
yeah.
saying is in comparison to someone going online and saying, "Please
yeah.
call me to sell my house," that's more like I just think that that's more
No,
like
the difference
concerning
is, yeah,
than someone searching.
the
That's all I'm
difference
saying.
is with the mail, you see it, you throw it out, it doesn't take any of your time. With a phone call, people, that's intrusive upon your day in
That's
general because
true.
you weren't expecting a
Yeah.
call, you weren't expecting a text, you respond, somebody keeps you on the phone for 10 minutes. I could see that, which is, and it goes, they're just trying to make everything illegal, bro. Like, I,
Yeah.
okay, I, on my phone, I am getting more text messages from big companies after
Mm.
this A2DP, LP, FCC, whatever the fuck it is, because before they didn't have guidance on how not to get sued, but
Yeah.
now that they have guidance,
Just
my
gotta
phone
include
has been,
stop every
yeah, my
message.
phone's been freaking blowing up with everyone and their mother wanting to sell me shit now or me to come to their store or do something. Whereas before, the only messages I were getting was
They're
car
from real
insurance
estate.
stuff. Like, yeah, like in real estate. Someone's trying to sell me a warranty or someone trying to buy my house. Those are the only
Mm-hmm.
type of text I would get.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and I think a lot of this leads to why wholesaling in general is becoming illegal. Virginia just made wholesaling illegal without a license.
Yeah.
If you try
Yeah.
to do more than like one or two transactions, I think that's a good thing, man. 100%. 100%. People are getting sick and tired of it too.
Mhm.
And it's like,
Let's
I
weed
think
out
it's
the
gonna
bad people. Let's do
I think
this.
it's gonna make room for some major players who have the capital because they could double close and then it opens up a whole new industry, not new industry, but it opens up transaction funding. So people doing transaction funding will be able to get, they'll make more money because they're loaning out for that 1% fee that maybe, you know 90% of wholesalers never needed before. Well, now everyone's going to need it in those states. um,
Mhm.
so I find that interesting too when you couple that with all the new laws with the phones and the texting and everything. So
Yep. I agree. What kind of pulses of the week we got going on? You just mentioned Virginia, which was one recent newsworthy item. What else has been going on?
Bitcoin has been
Yeah,
popping.
about 60,
I
right?
got out of my Bitcoin just as in a safe way, like a week whenever it was like at 53, 54, and I'm like, oh man, but I'd rather just get out. But yeah, Bitcoin is popping and could go on a little run
I
potentially.
think I made a joke to my wife the other day, yesterday, because I saw that posted. I saw it on Bloomberg, so I was sitting there and I was like, I saw the headline about Bitcoin. And I was like, so I opened up my phone, went into my hold my portfolio app, and I go, I hadn't looked at my crypto portfolio since I lost like hundreds of thousands of dollars in crypto, and I didn't
Yeah.
sell because I understand how the game works. Like in general, I'm holding for life. I don't even freaking care, dude. Like it's
Hmm.
just there. And I looked at the account; it's tripled from where it was, and I was like,
Let's go.
Bad.
it's
Not
like,
bad at all.
oh, this is finally
Is it
come
not
back.
just
You're like,
Bitcoin or a lot of
It's
coins
yeah, I
then?
have a lot of altcoin. They're all because they all follow Bitcoin, right? But
yeah.
I made a joke and I was like, listen, this is like tripled. I was like, all we have to do is do like a 5x and we're back to where we were before the crash. I was like, we just need like another 5x multiple and we'll get all of our money back. But we're on the way, baby. We're on the way. I told you I should have never sold it. I told you. Because she was like, are we going to sell it? It's all crashing. I'm like, honey, you
This
don't
is what
understand how this
happens.
works. Yeah, trust me. I know. We hold this for life. Well, we could use the money. We just sell it. I'm like, you don't sell crypto. Well, then why do we have it? Just to have it. Like that's something, the concept of like my daughter doesn't understand it either. I'm like, well, you buy it to hold it. But then when do you sell it? I go, never. But then why do you buy it? To hold it. But then what do you do with it? Nothing. You keep holding it forever. She's like, well, what's the point? It's to have it.
You know, the moment that you die, your daughter's gonna be like, "Where's the cold storage? Let's do this."
Sold, brother, and be like, sold. Yeah, right. I gotta put a will together that doesn't allow anybody to sell anything
So
when I die.
you
So
must
funny.
keep holding
Yeah.
my coin.
Yeah.
My cold storage wallet is being buried with me in my grave.
Yeah, that's something we've been thinking about, is just in general, like estate planning, especially with all the parks and stuff we're buying, the crypto obviously, but just, the assets. And it's like, what do you want to do with those things? So it's on my to-do list of like getting some type of plan, life insurance, all that. I mean, I have that, but what do you do with it? Because I don't want them selling it. Never sell the parks. Never sell. Hire a manager. Never sell the effing parks.
Yep, long-term income,
So
tax write-off, good benefit.
yeah.
Paul DeCampo's been his name's been popping up lately in convos I've been in. What is he?
Yeah, what's he got?
Did he post the other day, Carlos?
He's kicking up dirt. He's working with a lot of Investor Fuse members on doing their sequences for them, the build out, and then kind of going over effectiveness. I do not have the post readily available, but he's had a post of, let me go to it, Adam Whitney, who runs Bill Allen's team. Great
Sounds
company,
like a
long
flippin'.
time Investor Fuse. They had 189 touches on one deal.
That's crazy.
Which is crazy. Yeah.
That is a
Which
lot
is crazy.
of follow-up there.
That was super cool to see somebody posting.
I hope
just
there's an
Investor
ROI on
Fuse
that deal. I hope
interface.
the assignment fee is big enough to cover all of the.
Oh, I'm sure.
I guess if it's automated sequences, who cares, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't cost much.
Yeah.
Exactly. But that was cool to see inside somebody posting Investor Fuse opportunity with 189 touches on there.
Cool stuff. Well, I think we have some. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, I was trying to pull up. So we raised some funds and stuff for our park, and one of the things I wanted to do was get a logo and send out like a little thank you with a logo on it for our park. So I started to do like logo generation, and I use AI, and I was trying to find what do you call it, like a mobile home, AI generating like picture stuff. I'm trying to pull it up, but apparently like my computer is running slow. It's not generating images right now. Oh, there we go. So I'm going to share my screen. So Microsoft Copilot, right? It is free on my computer. So it's like they just released it. They opened it up. So I did an update the other week, and I noticed this new icon on my screen, and I'm like, man, this is interesting. What is this? And so last night I was like, I wonder if Copilot could start generating. So it does. It uses the Dolly like AI, and so let me share my screen here. Window, entire screen. Share. So I can't make it bigger, but if you see here, so like I did generate a 1980s style mobile home in a professional realistic. So I've been playing with it for like an hour or so.
Nice.
But
that truck is sweet.
Thanks. It's my truck. But
is that your truck?
Yeah. So if you look here, okay. So like then you can come in and you can save it. So like this is what it's created. But I've also like I went through a whole bunch of them where I'm having them make it, but like it's pretty cool the fact, because a lot of these AI generators, like I couldn't get them to. Oh, I'm clicking the wrong screen. I couldn't get them to make it. So I've had them make me, so like I don't know, I wanted the Auburn colors because I was thinking Auburn, and then it started giving me like Auburn logos. So I'm not trying to infringe on Auburn's copyright. It just kept throwing them in there. But like, so I was having it make me logos, and I was like, dang, this is like
Did it not spell
it.
estates?
No, dude. Like, and the problem is every time I tried to get them to correct it, it would give me a new logo. So what you have to do is I can't. I was trying to make it bigger. So you hit customize, and then it opens it up in Designer, and you could start playing around. It's kind of like Canva, so you could start
Oh, that's
copying,
cool.
editing, pulling. So like once you do that, you can pull something out. So you can kind of see like all the ones that I've made here as I was just playing
Those are
around with
pretty good
different.
logos. I'm impressed. I've tried like some basic stuff with Dolly through ChatGPT, but the problem is you can never do what you're doing now, which is iterate on it. Be like, this is the right direction. Take this and start going here. So this is pretty cool. I wonder if
That's
I can get this on an
so
app.
so far
Make some turtle
iterate
t-shirts.
on I cannot iterate on an actual one right now. So if I said I tried it, and maybe I'm not prompting it properly, so I'm still learning. So like for example, I want you to take the top right one and do this, this, and this to it. So far, I have not figured out the right prompt for it to understand what I'm doing, because it'll do what I'm saying, but with completely new images, fonts, you know what I mean? Like all that stuff. So I'm
Can
still
you
playing with
download it
that.
and then send it back to it and say, take this logo and do XYZ with it? Have you tried that?
I have not tried that, but what I was trying to do on my latest iterations of this thing is that's why I'm now asking it for just the mobile home, and then I could put that into Designer and add the words and everything myself inside the Microsoft Designer is what I was thinking I could do. So I'm
Interesting.
still playing with it, but for being free, like it's pretty legitimate. Like I was playing around. I'll pull this one over to my screen here. I
Were you
was
trying to
playing
get
around
the
with.
Were you trying to get the
Go ahead.
Auburn colors without the Auburn logo in it?
Yeah, and yeah. And I know the color codes, but I was just
Yeah.
like, can you give me the color and the font of Auburn University for the
Yeah.
name Winona Estates? And then it did, but then it put AU all over it, and I was like,
Oh
oh.
dang, these look cool.
So like this is another site, but you can see like I like the logos, not the pictures, but I like the options of the wording and the text and the layout. But the problem was is I couldn't get a mobile home because it's not intelligent enough to give me a mobile home. Symbols and logos are very basic. Um, So I was like, man, if I could just go find somebody to make me a mobile home. And that's when I came across Copilot. And then I started adding words to Copilot. And then that's kind of where like I got to like, these things here. Like I like this one and this
Those look
one.
cool.
These are my two favorite right here. Like I do like this one. I don't know
I
what
like the
just happened.
MHP acronym underneath it too.
Yeah, so I lost it. I'm somewhere
With the
here.
ones with the palm trees, are you saying like Florida or just putting palm trees in there by itself?
It's just putting trees there by itself, which is something I don't like because like I'm thinking, and I don't like this per se because I need to put this on an actual sign in front of my park, and that's not really sign worthy. I need it to be more rectangular type of thing than just in an emblem. I don't need it. I'm not trying to put this on a fucking mug or a hat. I need this for a sign and some other stuff. So anyway, I thought this was interesting to share. I'm not done playing with it. Everyone always talks about ChatGPT and stuff. You have to pay. John told me you have to pay for that Dolly integration with ChatGPT. This other one that I showed you here, I've used for two companies to create my logo, and I like them. It's basic, it's easy. If you want more advanced, this isn't it. And then you don't actually get to tell it what fonts to pick. So like I don't know the specific font until after I buy it. And obviously because I don't want people stealing their stuff and then just making it on their own. And that I have a problem with because if I want a specific font, I can't go and tell it to do that font. So I don't like that of this one. Whereas with Copilot, I could say, give me the Copperplate font and it'll give me Copperplate.
Interesting. I'll have to try Copilot out. I've been wanting to find a good AI that can generate like t-shirts for like turtle activities because People like to have a T-shirt for Turtle Activity, and your Copilot looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I
I'll
mean,
try it out for that.
I'm gonna keep playing with it, man, and see what I could do. I mean, I'm on a mission to create this logo, so I'm gonna keep playing with it. My idea again is to have like a rectangular name and then like the image either here or in the middle of the word. So I'm trying to get it to create that for me, so I could put it on a nice sign and on letterhead, stuff like that. Rent checks, all collection
Love
and
that.
notices.
I've been doing some interesting AI work this week. I was exploring a feature that could take 2 reports that were on PDFs, give them to a ChatGPT assistant that had specific direction to compare the reports and say why switching to a service would provide better results based off of data in these 2 PDFs, and it worked really, really well. I'd never done it where it would go and read PDFs before. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I use ChatGPT all the time to edit all my documents, make it sound more professional. I'm using it for that now, for logos and now image generation. I read it. I'm gonna botch the amount, but I was watching it on here. They had a company. There was a company that was practically going under. They made a deal with an AI company. They were able to lay off like 700 or a majority of their employees to take
And
over
just
their
use
chat,
AI.
their customer service and chat features, to just use AI and converse with its customers. Now they are showing a huge profit. They're thinking about going public. It's been like a year or so that year and a half or whatever, that they've
Interesting.
implemented this. They lowered all their payroll costs, their overhead costs. The AI is able to do a chatbot style type of thing to answer customer request issues, I guess. And like they went from basically almost bankruptcy to not being able to handle all their overhead to laying off almost all their staff in this, like, that was doing this, and replacing it all with AI. And I find that very interesting, because look at, I now don't need a guy, I don't need to go to Fiverr to have them create me a mobile home logo. I just did it myself for free. I could click that, and yeah, it's not exactly like, obviously you heard me complaining, I got to fix the words and all that. In another year, that won't be a thing. I'll be able to iterate on top of a specific image, and it'll keep getting better.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting things I've been playing around with, and I have a lot of ideas for how we're going to be implementing AI, and
It's scary.
It's going to be disruptive.
Oh yeah.
It's scary, like, I mean, video editing, we've talked about that before. Now images, we've talked about that. Copyright, like not copyright infringement, but like copywriting, as in like writing copy, like all of that stuff is being replaced.
It's cool
I
stuff.
don't know, man. And people say the trades are where you need to go, but I've also seen robots that can lay brick. Seen robots that can lay concrete. I've seen robots that could do drywall, mud, and tape.
I think that will come, but I think that's a lot further off
to
than
make it cost effective. Yeah, right now your general contractor down the road isn't going to
costs
buy
$1
a couple
million
robots.
for a robot.
I know. We're not there, but think about it. That's how AI, we may only be talking about AI this year, but like think about 10 years ago. No one could afford it. Now it's free for all. Basically.
Pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
All right, gents. Well, have a great weekend. Heading to Orlando this weekend. Not a gala to go to. Fancy.
Turtle Gala?
No, not a turtle gala, an art gala. Some friends of ours from Orlando invited us to it.
Oh, nice.
It's at a Wekiva Island, which is like an outdoor bar. So it's like fancying up a bar. So it's not a black tie event. Let's phrase it that. But they still get to call it a gala. Hey guys. See you next week.
Cool. Have a great weekend, guys.